This is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, I'm telling you. Got up this morning, tide was low, so I had to go out in my kayak to get my bait, and I got a croaker and a spot, and I wanted to pinfish, but I didn't get it. Got him, put him in the bucket, drilled down here, walked out my line as far as I could go. Because it's low tide, it's not too bad. I could get out pretty far, and then I just trolleyed out the, is that what you call it? Trolleyed out the spot. So we're just sitting here, see what happens. I'm sure I'll get a kingfish any minute now. All right, let's go. All right, so basically the goal is to catch a king mackerel in the surf. It's a lofty goal, I understand that. I'm trying to catch some bait right here, got a little pinfish, so I can go king mackerel fishing in the surf. I've caught blues in the surf, I've caught shark in the surf, I've even caught a tarpon in the surf, so I know this is possible. Let me show you the rig. All right, so here's the rig we're gonna use. I've got a number 5 hook on number 5 wire, which I think is 44-pound test, a treble hook down here as a stinger, and that's going to my swivel, which is going to my shock leader, which actually got a little bead in there to protect it when I put on the fish. Later on, I'll show you that. And that's nice long leader there to another barrel swivel that's going to go to my braid. So that's the rig we're going to be using, and we're going to put a fish on there, I guess a pinfish, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I do believe there's going to be a little trial and error here. So the first thing I'm going to do is use a traditional king mackerel rig, like the type they use on the pier. So what I have here is an anchor weight, which I bought at the sporting goods shop here on the island. And basically, I'm going to cast that out. There's nothing else on that, just the anchor weight. And I'm going to cast that out as far as I possibly can. So that's rod number 1. On rod number 2, I've got my rig, my kingfish rig with my hook, and the one I showed you previously with the 5/0 hook, the stinger there, on the metal lead, going out to the mono lead and the barrel swivel. And there's also this right here. Now this right here is what allows the magic to happen. Basically, I take these 2 wires and stick it through the barrel swivel here on the bait line. Then there's a snap swivel on the other, which I'm going to attach to my anchor line right here. And the idea is I'm going to let that slide out, and the bait's just going to go all the way out to as far as my anchor weight, which by the way went really far. Now, when a fish takes the bait, a big king mackerel, he's going to pull that bait, and that is going to snap off, leaving the anchor separate and for me to be able to reel in the fish. So I've got my pinfish here that I showed you that I caught earlier, and I guess I could hook it through the nose like that, but I'm just going to hook it through the back, and the idea, I want it to be able to swim. So I don't want to like overly hook it and make it uncomfortable. I want it to swim way out there with that weight attached to it. So this is how you would do it if you were on a pier. I'm going to open that bail. I'm going to attach the snap swivel, as I showed before, ride itself out there. Here's an image of what's supposed to happen. You can see the top reel is the anchor reel, and that line's way out there. And then you can see the bottom reel has the bottom rod has the line with that'll break off with the fish attached to it. Now this is the way it was supposed to work. But what happened was, this is what happened. The weight went right down to the bottom. The pinfish just sat there in about 5 feet of water, and it never got out there. I think the thing is, if you're on a pier, this is going to be 15 feet off the water, right? The pier is. And then the water's going to be 15 feet. You got a 30-foot drop there at least. I was dealing with like 5-foot drop. So that did not work. We're going to have to go to plan B. The first thing I should mention is rig number 1 was a complete fail. I lost the anchor weight when I tried to pull it in, and I lost the rig. So I'm going to try this another way. This is one reel, and as you can see, there was a Spudnik weight on the end of it. And I'm going to cast that Spudnik weight out as far as I possibly can, just like I did the anchor weight. And now this other rig, which I built, is very similar to the first one. It's got a hook where I'm putting on the bluefish that I caught. It's got a steel wire, just like the previous one did, and that's going to go out to a barrel swivel, which is going to go out to my monoline, and at the end of the monoline is a snap swivel. So instead of using 2 hooks and that break-off thing I did before, I'm just going to take this snap swivel and put it on the line. And the idea is that that snap swivel can just slide down that line, and that bluefish can just swim out as far as he wants into the deep water, where the king mackerel is waiting to snap him up, and I will reel him in, everything all together. So let's try it. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about And you can see I'm trying to get that bait. I actually had to walk out a little bit to get him to go. And this actually kind of worked. Here's an illustration. One line, one rod, one reel. The Sputnik weight is sitting out there in the deep water, and the bluefish is swimming out there. So it's a simpler setup, it's a cheaper setup for that matter, and it actually kind of worked. The fish did go down, it did slide out there. I don't know if it went all the way down to the bottom, but I did get a hit once I finally got the fish all the way out there. Now I had to hold the rod up really high, and it was kind of a pain in the butt because it's been so windy lately. There have been some waves, but this would work out really good if there was no waves and it was low tide and the tide was coming up. And as I said, I did get a hit, and I started reeling it in, and I was very excited because it was a big fish, but it was probably a shark because he was tugging and tugging and tugging. And then all of a sudden you can see right there, I let the line go. I knew something was wrong, and it just went dead. There was no weight, there was nothing, and I got it all the way up, and I realized that my line broke, which I figured was one of my knots went, but when I examined it, it turned out it wasn't my knots at all. It was actually the barrel swivel. I cannot believe the barrel swivel actually broke. I assume I'd had it on there and used that rig before. Maybe some salt water got underneath there and it just rusted out and the shark just pulled it open. So attempt number 3. Here's the Sputnik again on the monoline. That's getting cast way out there. And this time I put some beads on there, which I thought would help protect the swivel when it comes down. I had smaller beads on before, but now I put on some bigger beads. So that's the modification. And this time we've got another fish. I've used a couple of different fish, bluefish, pinfish. I used a spot. I used a croaker, and the croaker died, so I don't think he was strong enough. I think what you need is a fish that's strong and will swim out there. And for me, it's the pinfish and the bluefish that's going to do that the best. Because you can see here, I'm trying to get it out past the waves, trying to get it to go. One thing I'm concerned about is this. What if the fish decides he doesn't want to swim out there? What if he decides he wants to come back? And that's why I'm not going to use like a mullet, like a whiting. I feel like he would come back into the surf. And this worked. The fish went out there, and I did get a fish on the line, and I was very excited because I was sure it was a king mackerel. Actually, it wasn't fighting all that hard. I was kind of assuming it was maybe a small shark, but when I pulled it up, it was a blue, and not a bad size blue at that. I will say this was a lot of work to catch a blue. There's easier ways to do it than this, so that is not the targeted species. Again, I wasn't disappointed at him. I think he was about 17 inches or 18 inches. I weighed him, and I'm going to take him and I'm going to go make some smoked fish dip out of him. So what have we learned? This rig can work. It can catch big fish. Have I gotten it out far enough to catch a king mackerel? Probably not. I might have to resort to using a kayak, which would mean I wouldn't need to use this type of rig. I could just kayak out the bait and drop it. Anyway, I'm going to fire up the coals here, and I'm going to smoke this bluefish, and then we'll talk a little bit more about king mackerel fishing. I had brimed him in salt and brown sugar for overnight, and now I just rinsed him off, patted him dry, add some water to the smoker, and my secret ingredients, beer, to give it some extra flavor. And then we're just going to stick that fish on the grill at about 200 degrees for about 2 hours or so. As a matter of fact, he is on the grill right now as I film this video. I put some wood chips in the bottom and just let it smoke. And the smoke is coming out real nice and strong, billowing out the top. So while that's smoking, let's talk final thoughts. So the wind, you see the trees blowing? The wind picked up again. It's like 10 miles an hour plus, and I'm just not going to bother trying to get out there with a kingfish rig in this kind of wind. But I'm going to smoke that bluefish, and we're going to try again. We're going to get one. You're going to get one before this summer's over. We're going to get a kingfish in that surf. All right, look at this wind. All right, right now, if you want to learn more about smoking fish, I'll put a video right there. And if you want to subscribe, you can do that, and then you won't miss any more videos when I catch the kingfish. Don't want to miss, subscribe. All right, thanks for watching.